Now to the latest in our series Streamlined, where we bring you some of the biggest films and TV series hitting digital screens worldwide. Our next guest is certainly keeping busy as she stars in 2 new series playing the roles of Jackie Ponder on Love and Death and as Celeste on Mrs. Davis. Let's take a look.
You must be angry at me. I accused you of conspiring with your father for years.
You believed what you needed to believe, and there's comfort in that. I get it.
Comfort is no reason to ignore reality, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Marvel, thank you so much for joining us in studio.
My pleasure.
So that clip was Mrs. Davis. And I have to say, so as you were watching it, you kind of like, do you not like watching yourself on screen?
I don't mind. It was the memory of how many donuts I had to eat while shooting that scene. I think we housed like a box of donuts that day.
Too funny. Oh, okay, so you really have to eat. I mean, we're really watching you eat these donuts.
You really are, yeah.
So you've talked about in that clip that Mrs. Davis, you've described it as if Monty Python and ordinary people collided.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you'll have to watch and see. It's a show that is so ridiculous and absurd in one moment, like just outrageously absurd, and then lands in an extremely intimate, emotional, real place. So it sort of yo-yos between these 2 extremes.
On the flip side, you're also starring in Love and Death, which is a true crime thriller. Yeah. Do you find one role more difficult because you go from the religious character to the outlandish in Mrs. Davis? So is there one that's more difficult for you?
No, definitely not. It's the great joy of what I get to do is I get to explore all kinds of people and wear all kinds of clothes and wigs, and it's what I love about what I do. It's interesting exploring communities as well, and that's something that I really loved about Love and Death because it's a David E. Kelley show. He wrote it, but it's based on a true story, and it is about a murder. But what is so interesting to me about that show and what drew me to that show is it explores really a community and what one's actions within a community, how it affects the entire community.
So your best friend is charged with murder.
Correct, yes.
And give us kind of the setup, because people are going to hear Love and Death. They're not going to really understand. How would you summarize this?
So it's about a small community in Texas, and it's a woman who is happily married in a community of other families, and she starts an affair with another choir member, and I am the pastor of that church and they're in the choir. And long story short, one day she is confronted by the man's wife, and she loses her mind and not only kills the woman, but takes a garden axe and hits her over 50 times with it. So, and actually got let off by a jury.
I'm sold. I'm actually very interested in watching. You kind of have these gripping details. I was like, I'm in for that. How did this work? Because I know these are both out at the same time, but are you working on these projects at the same time?
They dovetailed a little. So yeah, there was some overlap. I'm usually running between 2 sets or a stage in New York and a set in LA. I feel like I'm always on a plane, going somewhere.
Is there an ideal character or project that you'd really love to work on?
Oh, I love that question. I always think there is, and then I start something new and I realize this is it. You know, one thing that I really love and where my energy is going these days is comedy. Yeah.
And is that just because you feel like we need a little more levity in our lives?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you in the serious and the comedy and all of the different kinds of genres that you portray so well. Mrs. Davis is now available to stream on Peacock, and you can catch Love and Death on Max. Elizabeth Marvel, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.